somebody just has a script, they've watched all these videos, they've optioned their script, they've got their financing in place, they have a great casting director who has attached, one or two pretty decent actors. What is the best stage to attach a sales agent? Should someone start, when they're in pre-production? Should they start in production or post?
If you have managed, if you're good enough that you have a good script, B, you've been able to get cast, which is not an easy thing to do, go make your film. Because the sales agents will seek you out if you have a good script with good cast.
Just because you think buzz around the industry, people will hear about it and find you?
I think so. I really do. I mean, you can be smart and do a little
promotion.
quiet promotion. You could do a little. It's risky, but you can even do a tiny bit of social media or something like that. You want to save most of that for the release, but to get the industry excited, you can do a little bit of that.
Okay. Very cool. And so then I guess that really does answer my question, because I think a lot of independent filmmakers don't know if they should be trying to sell, pre-sales. Would you say that that's kind of not really an option for a smaller film? Pre-selling the film?
If you don't have a lot of cast, you're going to have to make your film and hope for the best. If you have cast, by the way, very important point. If you have cast, the agencies that represent that cast are going to try to leverage their way into being your sales agent.
Which is not a bad thing if you're going with the big four agencies.
Not a bad thing. You have to be careful. They don't always have your best interests at heart.
Right.
But there's more good than bad that can come of it.
Good to know. So, finished film, maybe a filmmaker doesn't get into Sundance or Toronto, but they have a finished film. It's, got legs. But, let's take a minute to talk about genre. Let's talk domestic and foreign. What is the difference between the markets, and what would you say the U.S. is looking for right now versus what you're finding is more appealing to the foreign markets? Foreign market, the bigger European.
Let me preface by saying I am somewhat of an expert in domestic. I am not an expert in foreign.
Okay.
But I am somewhat knowledgeable.
Okay.
So what I wanted to say about foreign is it's hard to get a lot of money out of foreign unless you have a significant theatrical.
In the U.S. or significant?
Yes, in
okay.
the U.S.
Or a huge cast that will support TV market in Europe.
Better be really huge.
Okay.
Because a lot of times you can have perfectly respectable film getting a theatrical release with some cast, and it's hard to get a lot of money out of foreign.
Wow. What would you say the percentage is? I know it is, it fluctuates all the time, but with an independent film, let's just say $1 million film, what would you say the percentage filmmakers can expect from a U.S. domestic, or let's call it North America, so we'll include Canada. What can filmmakers expect?
Actually, let's keep Canada separate for a second.
Okay, so let's say the U.S. What percentage of revenue do you think people can expect from the U.S. versus internationally?
If you're an independent producer.
With $1 million film.
With $1 million film. Well, honestly, with $1 million film, you probably don't have too much cast.
Right.
Unless you have a very economical script that is also very good, so you've been able to attract the cast.
Like one location, like Cube or something like that. Something very,
I would point to the film that I mentioned earlier as a good example. Edmund, the David Mamet script directed by Stuart Gordon with William Macy and about 10 other decent names, and the film was made for $1.5 million.
Wow.
But the reason we were able to do it is that everybody wants to work with Mamet.
Absolutely. You have that name, and then people jump up to...
Right. Well, we did it on a very, very low budget and short shooting schedule, and a lot of people just came in for a day or two.
Wow.
but it really worked out nicely.
And I'm sure it was different back then than now. Obviously, Mamet is a huge name here in William H. Macy, so you probably got most of your money back from that film in the U.S.
In that particular case, a significant foreign sales agent stepped up and put in an advance. Wasn't huge, but an advance for foreign.
Wow.
I was the U.S. distributor as well as being an executive producer and co-financier. I put up a decent but not huge advance for U.S. and Canada.
Okay.
And the rest they raised in equity and a little bit of subsidies, I think.
Okay. So, but now if someone had $1 million film, and let's just say they didn't have a huge actor, maybe, 2 mid-level name actors, what would the percentage breakdown be for U.S. versus the rest of the world?
Probably higher towards the U.S.
So like 60-40, 55?
Like that, yeah.
Okay. But that means there's kind of a shift coming back, because I know when we met, it was more international than it is domestic.
Yeah. If you're talking about having 2 fairly significant names, I think, but being relatively small film, I think you might end up getting more out of the U.S. than foreign.
Okay.